Hey guys, I've got a Sonoff T1 here, this is a 3-channel switch. I've disassembled it, so started off with the casing here, the 3-channel thing here. As you notice, mine looks different here because it's actually turned out it wasn't. I purchased something off eBay that said it was a 3-channel Sonoff, but in experience on my first purchase, I've turned out to buy that I've ended up with this one that has King art on the ABS casing. There's no mention of Sonoff anywhere. However, it does look exactly like it. It still carries the same microprocessor, which is on the other side of the board. I'm not going to turn it over. The main purpose here is just about the flashing and just to show you how I've done it. So when you pull the board off, there's 2 locations where the board is clipped in. So first you've got to just pull this off. The lugs are at the bottom, so you pry from the top area and you just get over these little nipple things here. You get some bits here for the screwdriver to push in, so you're prying from the top. It's pretty easy to get off, and it's also meant to be easy because you're doing it once it's mounted on the wall. You can just pull it off with your fingers from the top. So once you get that off, you've got the circuit board that's on top. The circuit board's mounted on this 8-pin connector here, so you need a little thin screwdriver and just pry under from here, so you're lifting the board off these 8 pins. And secondly, this top right corner also is a little bit of a flared taper, so screwdriver again under this side and just pry it up and it'll come off. Your 240 volts is on the back here. You don't need to do anything with that. Leave that on there. It's the board that you get off that you're doing stuff with. So on my board, flashing this one here, I've tried all sorts of ways to not have to solder because I just don't like putting heat onto boards with the shitty gas solder that I've got, but I've done it anyway because other methods I've tried with using things like clothes pegs, there just wasn't enough room for 4 clothes pegs on there, so I've gone with the solder anyway. So I've got a 3.3 volts at the top left, the ground, the TX and the RX I've soldered on, and here's my board that I'm using here, plugged into the computer. What I did with the wires is I put a double solder on the wires first, not on the board. So I just had it in a pair of pliers, I put a double solder on, and then I come down on the board and then remelted the solder and dabbed it on quickly so I don't put too much heat into the board. For some reason on the 1 or 2, very limited amount of information there is on the Sonoff T1s, they're saying about grounding out the pin number 14, I think it is, on the chip. On this board, and maybe perhaps because this board does actually look like the genuine boards on the newer Sonoffs, all you're doing is grounding out this switch one, which is just under the white lead there. So once you power off this board, you hold ground, which I've just got here. I just hold the ground on the switch, and then once I power it on, I just take it straight off. So it's literally like a half a second touch. It's not a very long touch, and then straight away the board is in flashing mode. And then using the ESP flasher, I I've then chosen my Sonoff file and flashed, so you can see that's come through successfully. And if I pull that file out, just a second. So logs. Okay, so log file. And we can see that it's gone through successful. 100%. So what happens then is now I just need to take the clips off the board. So I'll just pull the power off. Okay, so we've got a board now. The board just goes back on. Sorry, you need to cut or trim these back so they're not hanging about, so they can just be trimmed. I've been leaving them. I've done 3 of these now, so I haven't cut them fully off. I've just trimmed them sort of just a little bit, enough to get the alligator clips on in case I needed to again, but also enough back that when you're putting the board on, that it's not touching the 240 volts stuff. This stuff will be up here, so it is actually near the connectors. So once you get that on, you just need to chuck your neutral 240 volts or 110, whatever your zone is in wherever you are, and put the active wire on there. That will then power the device up, and you will then see it in your Wi-Fi list on your computer. And I've chosen, people say use termite, but it's just an extra step, so this way is easier, I find anyway. You just give it the 240 volts, so your mains power, it powers up, it creates its own SSID Wi-Fi, and then make sure your computer is disconnected from your Ethernet port, and you just want to connect to this as Wi-Fi. Once you connect to the Sonoff dash whatever it's showing in your SSIDs, then you can access it via the web page, which is 192.168.4.1. You end up on the Tasmota settings page, and then you can go through and configure the firmware through the page. Oh no, so first you put in your Wi-Fi settings, and then once you save that, then you can reconnect yourself to the home network, and then you can access this through the IP address that it's been assigned. So to find that IP address, for myself it uses Google Wi-Fi. It's quite easy. I just see it in the devices list. For anyone that's just using a standard Wi-Fi router, you go into your router's settings page on 192.168.1.1 or .0.1 or 10.1.1, depending on what page the router is using as its settings. And then you're looking in the devices for the new for a new device, something that you've not seen on your network before. And then once you see the IP address, then you can go on and through your web page type in that IP address, and you'll end up on Tasmota settings, and then you can go into configuration, put in the module settings, which will be, I'll show you here, just an example. Okay, so this is a one channel Sonoff switch. So what I was talking about before, when you connect to the 192.168.4.1, you'll end up on this page here, where you're putting your SSID and Wi-Fi password in for your home network. Then once you save it, then you disconnect and you reconnect back to your home Wi-Fi, and the Sonoff will be on your home Wi-Fi, and then you can find it. So then you're coming into configuration, you're configuring the module and choosing the Sonoff T1, depending on which one you bought, you're choosing that, saving it, and then you're coming back and you put where your ASIO IP address is. The MMQT is 1883 port. I'm just using the same MMQT. I just put those settings in the same for them all. Choose what you want, but I just use that. You need your username and password that you set on the MQQT module or add-on or whatever it is. And that's that. And in here, you don't need to put that in. So you just need to change this one here, friendly name. So this is just the name that it will be identified as. So I've just used that one there. And other than that, you can come into that will get it all up and running. I just like to do some other things which I've recorded, so I'll grab those settings. Bear with me. Okay, so I made a little template. I was using Termite originally off Dr. Z's stuff, where I was punching in all this stuff over Termite, but I just found once I'd flashed it, it was just easier to connect to the device over Wi-Fi and then program it all through the actual Tasmota web page. But yeah, I'd sort of saved each one just in case I needed to do it again, even though I did back up the firmware. But yeah, so I've just been recording some notes here. This one here, this is about the Sonoffs randomly turning on and off. So where people have said in the middle of the night their lights have come on. This bit here is where you supposedly are pasting in these commands into the console in this order, and that supposedly fixes the random on and off, so I just put them in anyway. I don't know if they actually need to be done. So another thing you need to do, which is probably pretty important, because when you look at your console and you see the times that things have happened, you need to make sure that the times are relative to the time where you are, so you can diagnose stuff. So for me, I'm in Perth in Western Australia. I'm on +8 GMT. So for me, I copy and paste in to the console. There, I copy time zone 8 and hit enter, and that sets me for the GMT 8. I also copy and paste in time STD, time standard, and then I'm setting the time servers. So again here, I'm copying and pasting this CMD Sonoff MTP server 1, and I just paste it again, and then I just delete the 1 and put the 2 and the 3, and then that just updates the NTP servers in your new Sonoff that you flashed, so that it can have the correct time. And I also changed the DNS to use the Google DNS, so I'm just copying IPv4 address there to the 8-1, and that's all I do to get my Sonoff stuff up and running. And I have also connected mine to, so it works with Google Wi-Fi, so I can just say, okay Google, turn off the garage lights.
Got it. Turning off the garage lights.
Hey. And over here I have my garage light here. This is the single channel one that I was talking about. So that just works off the touch. And then I have another 3-channel one on the wall here, which I've just set up, but this one not so good. So this one's going back, not responding. Okay, cheers.